many of you may see, is elsewhere today. So in his absence, I will be running the meeting.
But he's present.
And he is present on Zoom. So we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. If you join me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, welcome, everyone. Let's start off with the news that our member Ken Kestner on May the 1st, he submitted his resignation. He had 2 more meetings and his term would be expiring in June, but we were somewhat, at least I was somewhat surprised, and I'm thankful for the almost 4 years that Ken helped us, challenged us, and was a part of the board.
He did serve a term before.
Yes, prior, correct. Item number 3 we're at, and that is public comment. Anyone in the audience wish to have anything, express anything at this time under public comment? If not, then we'll go to the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I so move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay.
Did everyone sign the check signing calendar?
It's just
Let's make
started
sure
around.
Let's make sure we get that done so we, Don, did you want to choose a date?
I'll take whatever's left over.
Okay.
So when the others figure it out, you can let me know which date that you need me in.
And Dawn, if there's something that you wish to contribute, say at any time, feel free to interrupt me because I will have my back to you. So appreciate
Okay. I'll have your back.
that. Oh, good. Yeah, from 300 miles away. Thanks. Okay. I needed to back up, if I could already, and under public comment, I would just like to publicly thank the hospital auxiliary. And they were just a few embers. I thought the flame was going to go out, and now all of a sudden there is new enthusiasm. Ellen Jones put together the card party. Holly, you were there. Julie, I don't know how many others from the hospital attended, but it was...
I'm an auxiliary member.
Yeah, it was nice to see, and they could contribute so much to make the hospital a better place. I should have probably taken Kenny Rogers' advice. I didn't know when to fold them and then when to hold them, so obviously I didn't get a prize.
Did you make money?
No, but I had a lot of fun and got to meet a lot of good people, so that was worth it. Educational update. Holly, would you like to come up front so we can make sure that our listening audience that is out and about in our community can hear?
Okay. So I am here just to present to you and the community, let you know some of the things that are going on as far as education through Lake Health District. And I'm pretty excited. I've completed 1 year as a coordinator assistant in this department, and my job is to basically coordinate community CPR classes, first aid classes, basic life support for our staff and anybody in the community needing that. And the other thing that we do is we offer classes for our providers, our nurses, different professionals in our hospital, ACLS, advanced cardio life support, pediatric advanced life support, on and on. But anyways, so I coordinate those classes with instructors who come from the outside and try to keep track. My job is to keep track of our staff who is in need of these certifications and to try to keep them on board and into these classes. And it's been, I've been in this position for a year. It's been quite interesting and a lot of fun. And with the BLS, the basic life support, and the CPR, Heart Saver CPR, first aid, AED programs that we do, we've had really good response. We've had, I have a handout if anybody would like to see, but what I've done is I've looked over the past 4 years, the classes that we have offered, and, okay, no, oh, there you go. So I'll keep one for myself. So we, I've kept track of how many classes that we've given, how many people attend, how many instructors that we've had, and it's been really quite successful. And I've had a lot of people from the community reaching out to me to schedule classes, so we've had quite a few. I know that the past 2 years we've had COVID, and that's kind of probably stifled some of the interest, I don't know, but since March of last year, we've had a lot of people reaching out for classes, and it's good. We've had the government agencies, a lot of the private sector, state agencies, just individuals call and ask about classes. Do we offer classes? I think they're finally kind of getting the idea of who to contact, and it's been a lot of fun. The numbers have been up. I've been keeping track also of the amount of revenue that it's bringing in, and I'm not sure that I need to keep track of that, but somebody asked me, or I asked who keeps track of the billing and when they pay or they don't pay or whatever, and so I've just kind of kept track of that. Last year's from March through the end of the year, we brought in over $20,000 just in CPR and BLS. As well as I think we had a couple attend, like ACLS, TNCC, from out of the facility. And this year so far, I'm up to over $7,000. At the end of June, June, it'll be over $8,000. So that's kind of exciting. And there's not a lot of cost that goes out. We have to pay the instructors. We get paid our regular salary or hourly wage to teach the classes, but we have such wonderful equipment, and that was one of somebody who came to a class said, wow, this is like professional, everything, because I try to have everything laid out and
So who teaches the classes?
Pardon?
Who teaches the classes?
So we have 11 instructors. I'm one. Abby Finetti is one. Actually, there's 2 of us who are non-clinical employees. One is a CNA, but now she's working in wellness. And then the others are registered nurses or paramedics or EMTs.
Okay.
So it's been very good. And then the other thing, speaking of the auxiliary, they annually they put out a wish list request to the different departments, and I put in for mannequins that offer feedback, because through the American Heart Association we have to provide these mannequins for everybody to test their skills on, and we have 2. And so I put in a request for more of those, as well as the AED trainers that we use, their Zoll. We have 1, and I put in for more of those. And I didn't get the mannequins, but I did get the Zoll trainers. So I'm not sure if they've been ordered yet or not, but I was pretty excited about that. So, and then I've had Forest Service donated to us some EpiPen trainers, and they have an AED that resembles their AED they have on site at the Forest Service or interagency, and he said, I'd like to bring it down so that you can use it. And I said, sure, bring it in, and we train a lot of your staff. It'd be nice if they had their equipment, something that's similar to theirs to train on. So it's been a lot of fun. A couple of classes ago, when I teach a class, I thoroughly enjoy it. People are pretty receptive and attentive, and I have found that I've become very passionate about compressions and CPR, and I always tell them my goal is that when they leave that they are able to remember enough that they could maybe keep somebody alive until, emergency services were to respond. But it's been a good thing. It's been a good thing, and if you know of anybody who needs CPR, if any of our staff, our board members want to join a class, that would be great. They're generally during the day. I've done a few for like coaches, the Little League coaches, and that sort of thing.
Do we usually have to put an ad in the paper when they are and stuff, or how do we communicate?
So Julia Ugaldi, she posts on social media, and I have it posted in the facility when the schedule of classes, but when I have people from the private sector reach out to me, generally we create a class just for their staff. And I'm flexible. If they have a few people, then I'll work them into one of our classes. But if anybody's ever interested, on our website, my name and extension is listed on that for education, and so you can always call me. I'm at extension 133. But yeah, it's been a good thing. We've had, the classes are always full. I think we've done one class with just one person, and that was, I don't know why, I didn't really like that date or whatever, but we've all of our classes have had 5 to 8. We've had 14 people. We have pretty full classes, so it's a good thing.
Holly, do you have most of the classes in the conference rooms here?
Yes, so we have the majority of the classes. If they are here at the facility, they take place in the Strebe Conference Room on the West Wing. And we've done some off-site. We did one that was pretty interesting last year in the fall, in August. We did a class for the school district, and we had 61 people attend. And we had, I think, like 8 or 10 instructors come and help. And we had stations where they would do one thing. We have a whole skills checklist, and they would do it and at different stations. And it was pretty fun. It was very interesting. And we've done classes. Daniel Tagg and I went out to Adele on a Saturday, and we did BLS, we did first aid, we did bloodborne pathogens for the Adele volunteer, EMS, as well as their firefighters. Those are always educational for me as well. I enjoy them. I've done evening classes for the volunteer coaches, the Little League coaches, and I have one scheduled here in a week that I'm going to go to Dog Lake Construction. I'll go on site. We've gone to Paisley School District, so depending on the who it is and their needs, we try to fulfill that. And people have been pretty perceptive. It's been fun. Or receptive, not perceptive.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so if you need CPR, give a call, we'll get you in a class.
Thank you,
Or
Holly.
ACLS or TNCC or whatever, Thank you.
March financial report. Charlie.
I'm going to give a go at this. What did I do wrong? Can you do it? A couple things. Ed Keogh, our CFO, resigned on Monday, so that's why I'm making a presentation today. I want to remind you that our budget meeting is going to be May 17. That's in 2.5 weeks. So it'll be here at the 5:30. So please make a note of that.
5:30?
5:30, yes. If we do, I hope that works for you. If the budget does not get approved, then we have a second date, which is May 24th, so that we can have an approved budget prepared and ready for the board meeting in June, first board meeting. So there's a lot of work going on to try to make sure that we get our budget right. Starting out the patient count, we have our hospital days have been continuing to be lower than they were prior years, about 15%. Our swing beds especially have been lower. We did that purposely in the beginning of the year because we stopped having travelers. And that has made quite a difference. What we found is the cost of travelers has dropped precipitously. The contract wages dropped almost 50%. So it has, because so many hospitals have said we can't afford this. We are now taking on more swing beds. We also have had to take on more travelers. Not that we wanted to, but as soon as we made that decision and things were going along fine, we had staff that had health issues. And we still got to deliver care. So we've had to do that. All right, outpatient volume has been a little bit mixed when you look at our clinics or other outpatient services. The lab has been down, but radiology has been up. Rehab has been down largely in part due to the fewer swing bed patients. And they're down by 6 and 5%. So not significant, but enough. That makes a big difference. Our home health volume has been half of what it has been in the year before, but our hospice volume has been up just a little. So it varies. And when you have small numbers, you see changes a fair amount. Inpatient surgery has been down slightly, but outpatient has been up about 7.5%. That was also impacted when Dr. Chang, who is the surgeon that's here 2 weeks on, versus Dr. Bradbury, who's normally here 1 week on. Dr. Chang had some family issues, and so was gone for most of February and much of March. He is gone now, and Dr. Bradbury is covering more than he normally would. So we're making it a little bit different now, but not in February and March. Charges for the month of March were at $4,266,000. It's in line with the other months, given the number of days, and not far from what our historical pattern has been. Our biggest problem continues to be collecting our revenue. And we've talked about this a great deal. We are engaged 2 components to work with Cerner. One is called an ORCA, and I forget what the acronym means, but it is, we pay Cerner extra to give us extra special attention and to help focus on some of our revenue cycle and process issues. The other is a company called Experian. We've talked about this in the past. And Experian is, they tie into the Cerner software, and they help us, or what they're predicting they will do is make our accuracy significantly better. If we are able to gather the information when the patient checks in and make sure that it's 100% correct, we have far fewer errors when we do billing, which significantly improves our collections and our processes. So it is a mess, and we are working on it. One of the things I could add, oops, did I go the wrong way? Our collections were up at our highest level for the month of March, which is really positive, but we still have a long way to go. The average for the last year has been $2,803,000, so at 324, better.
Yes.
The concern of all is our days cash on hand. It's now 19, and we have lots of work to do to get that. We're well aware of it, and we have lots of things that we've got to do. For the month, March was not a good month for us. We had another loss of $400,000, so for the year, it's $1,461,000. There were a couple things that were out of line. Our supplies were much higher than we anticipated. Our wage and benefits were higher, in part to census, but also some other catch-ups that we were doing. All in all, our expenses continue to be higher to meet. We also, when you look at our utilities, I think I told you that in November, the geothermal system that we use through the town had a problem. It's caused our utility costs to double. They are $225,000 more than they would be with the geothermal heating. That's how significant this is, plus the repairs on our side. And right now, the town system is down again because the pump at the well is not working. They were trying desperately to get it fixed today. We had a meeting to talk about it, and they did get from Klamath a pump, and they thought they were going to get it going. That was at midday today. But we're running propane and electricity to keep the power, to keep the heat on. And of course, it doesn't help when we started having warmer days, and then we now have cooler days. So that's a significant difference for us. Our supplies were a little higher also, and I think in part we were addressing some of our computer needs. We've talked about this in the past, but just to remind you, Windows 10 that all of our systems have been operating on, they won't work on Windows 11. So we have to replace all of our computers. So we are in the process, and there's over 400 computers. So that's, not only does it take time to do that, but it's expensive. So we're in the process of upgrading that. Our expenses continue to be higher than we want them to be. And Don and John have gone over this with me. Our balance sheet changes are, large part of the receivables have continued to go up. The cash continues to be a concern. Any questions?
Questions, Don?
No, sir. I think we're doing pretty good. We're looking at an improvement as we come forward with the new Experian and the Orca coordination with Cisco.
Certainly.
Sorry, excuse me.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's no other questions that
Move on then to
Goose Lake Medical
Services. Charlie?
Yep. We've sent out all the financials to you, so I hope everyone has had a chance to look at them. Lakeview Gardens, we had a little bit less of a loss than in February, but we continue to keep working on care that we're delivering. We have opened up the second house, and so you see that increased revenue in the month of March. It wasn't for the full month, and it's still, the second house is not full. But we are working diligently to increase that volume. What, of course, is also very difficult for us is we've had some health issues with staff in our Lakeview Gardens staff, and so we've had to resort to using contract labor.
I see it's significantly higher in February and March than it was
Well,
in the previous months.
Our volume, we opened the second house, and while we have anticipated having adequate staffing, when health issues become a significant component, we have to address that. And we continue to work on trying to address that. Lake Health Medical Supply, continues on at its rate. As you will notice, for the month of March, we almost hit net revenue of $50,000. So that's a good month for us. One of the parts that we've been working on forever, it seems, is landing a contract with the California Blue Cross. So in Oregon, it's called Regency. In California, it's called Anthem. We finally got a contract from them. We are actively trying to negotiate the rates. The rates were good, but we think we can do better. So that will have a potential big increase. We have a lot of customers or patients that come up for their sleep studies from California, and often they will need to have oxygen supplies and sleep apnea issues. So that's a positive for us. Any questions? No, how do I get out?
Okay, thank you, Charlie.
I would like,
Yes.
I'd like to take just a moment to thank our business office staff and the people in there that are working real hard at putting in the overtime to try to right the revenue cycle. I think it's important to recognize their efforts are really appreciated by the board.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you, Don. Okay, item number 8, behavioral health grant property selection. Charlie.
All right. I'd like to start off, we've talked about the burn grant and the monies that we have to try and spend to address the needs of this. And I thought one thing that might be helpful is for me to talk a little bit about how does mental health work in the state and in our county. So this is a presentation, if I can get it to work, that was prepared by, okay. So this was I want you to keep in mind that Oregon Health Authority, when the governor took office first week in January, the existing Oregon Health Authority director left, and a new one was hired. He lasted 7 weeks, and then now they've hired another fellow. They also replaced the head of mental health, or behavioral health director. Ebony Clark is the individual in charge. She was the head of Multnomah County's mental health, if I have it correctly. Is that right, Heidi?
I believe that's correct.
So she's a knowledgeable, capable individual. So when she talks about this, I think that it helps everyone understand what mental health is. So in the state of Oregon, we have 4 types of focuses for behavioral health: substance use disorder, adult mental health, youth, gambling. And through the way this is handled, state funds, predominantly is paid for through the coordinated care organizations and then the community mental health program. In the CCOs, that's the coordinated care organizations, that's the network of providers. We contract with Eastern Oregon CCO. Eastern Oregon CCO contracts with GOBI, Greater Oregon Behavioral Health, to manage the mental health component or behavioral health component of the Eastern Oregon Mental Health Services.
Is it going to be public or private?
It is a private company, and it was formed originally to represent the community mental health plans predominantly in Eastern Oregon. And I'll explain what the community mental health plan is, to represent that through the association and to work with the coordinated care organizations. that handles psychiatric emergency services, inpatient services, services that are delivered on an outpatient basis, and then what is called children's wraparound service. Every county is responsible from the state, and they are, all, the commissioner here and the county are called the local mental health authorities. That is the responsibility of the county. And then the county is responsible to either manage the next component, which is the community mental health plan, or to contract with someone to provide that service. So the county does not, cannot give away that responsibility. And they have oversight responsibilities for the CMHP or for that. These are tricky. Really tricky. So the community mental health plan, that is the service that in Lake County, at one point in time, Lutheran Social Services out of Klamath was the contracted organization that managed the community mental health plan program. It then changed. It was managed in part through Harney County, and which is not the county, but the organization that works there called Symmetry. And then several years ago, the county elected to put it out for bid. The health district bid on it and was awarded the contract. And so we are acting as the community mental health plan. We have that responsibility, and we report to the county on what we do. You can see all the different kinds of things that the CMHP is responsible for. Heidi Martinez in the back is the executive director of the CMHP, and does all that she can to make sure that we are delivering all the care that we can. We have Dr. Kim Human, who is a psychiatrist, who is the medical director for the CMHP. She provides support to Heidi and is available to our clinicians should they need assistance.
Does she live here?
No, she lives in Hood River. She's not here a great deal, but she does provide some assistance. Our doctors and nurse practitioners are often the ones that are really responsible for caring for people that are in an acute crisis. And sometimes it is coordinated with the community mental health plan, and sometimes they manage it as best as, depending on how the patient chooses, because you can't force someone to go to this care. This really is difficult. So, the state determined that they were going to create these behavioral health resource networks. Every county is responsible to establish a behavioral health resource network. This is being done with the M110 monies. Those dollars are predominantly the taxes that come from the sale of marijuana in all the stores. So that's where that revenue comes from. It was about $100 million that were allocated for these behavioral health resource networks. For Lake County, that represented $1.2 million. And these are the things that we are responsible to do. The low barrier substance use disorder, that's what SUD stands for. Substance use disorder treatment, low barrier housing, harm reduction, peer-led monitoring, supportive employment. So that's what the requirements are. When we look at how the dollars flow in the state, as you can see, the preponderance of the dollars are being paid for out of the CCO. The burn, it's listed here at $219 million. I believe it was $100 million per, I'm not quite sure how they came up with that number, unless, because we were told it was $100 million. And then some of that is for the state funds and tribal dollars. Those are the services that behavioral health is responsible for providing. As you probably know, we do not have any residential treatment in Lake County. So all of the patients that need to have that service are getting care in other counties. So even though we may direct someone to go there, we are still paying for it through our CCO dollars. And last but not least, if I get it the priorities for the governor. And these are what she has identified as dealing with homelessness, the behavioral health issues, and stabilizing and supporting behavioral health workforce. That gives you a little bit of an overview of the kinds of service that we're responsible for. Back to the buildings. We've looked at, do you have any questions about this? Okay. So when we talked about the various buildings, and I went through the list last time, there were 7, 8 buildings that we could conceivably work with. We cannot build a building with any of this money. We can either rent or purchase and repair, but we cannot build a building. Our original request was for $5 million. We got $1.2 million in our original budget. We then had to modify that to account for the need for capital dollars. We requested $855,000 out of that $1.2 million, and the state agreed to that budget. When we talked about the various buildings, the Hereford building is the one that we are recommending at the last meeting. It was requested that we get information on the cost of a roof. I got 2 estimates when Ken talked about the estimates that he had received, if you recall. The number that Rob Thornton provided was $361,000, and it was corroborated by another contractor in the ballpark of between $360,000 and $400,000. That is within our, if we purchase the building and replace the roof, we would have enough money, not to fix the entire building, but to work on the space that we believe will work, and that is on the ground floor. It's important to understand that we would be using only grant funds from this specific grant, and that we would not be using district funds. If we don't have the money to do it, we wouldn't go further on it. One thing we don't know with clarity as of right now is how much the burn grant will be allocated money for the next biennium. The legislature is in the process. We have been advised through our CMHP association. So there is an association of community mental health plans or programs, and they're actively working with the legislature. They believe that the dollar amount will be similar. You can't say how much exactly, but it appears that that falls in line with what the legislature is talking about, and certainly in line with what the governor is recommending. Do you have any questions?
What? You have a question?
Okay, maybe it's just background.
Well, I have some comments. Last week we discussed this and we decided to table it, and I think that was right, because I don't think we had done enough due diligence to really understand, what we were getting to, what the roof was really going to cost. And I feel much better now that we know that the roof's going to cost about $400,000. So if we take the $855 and subtract the $240, which would be the purchase price of the building, that gives us $615,000. And of that, we know the roof's going to cost about $400,000, so that gives us about $200,000 to take care of the bottom floor, whatever modifications we may have to do there, or any surprises in the roof. So I feel much better now that we've done our due diligence into what we're getting into. So, and this is money that if we don't use, we get back. And it has nothing to do with what's going over here with Lake Health District. It's not coming out of any of our budgets over here, so. I support moving forward.
Well said, John, well said.
Shireen, comments, concerns?
I just feel a lot better about it.
Unfortunately, it's difficult to get good estimates, in part because a lot of the contractors are very busy. And without a doubt, we would have to put it out to bid. And those estimates may be, we believe they will come in close to it.
But we still have a little cushion, so.
We do.
Yes, it's nice to have that margin because there could be a few surprises. But I feel very comfortable in looking at now the dollar amounts that we've been allocated and the amounts that we have looked at and would spend to make it do what we feel will benefit the community.
Well, it's, you know, if that roof doesn't get fixed soon, that building is going to just disintegrate. You look at the old barns around Lake County, if they've kept the roof up, that barn is still standing. If you let the roof go, they just, and if you can get a roof on top of that building, I think it'll stabilize the building.
Well, the SCO had paid for an analysis of the building through Brownsfield. And they did a fair assessment. I believe you've all seen a copy of that report. So that is a help, as a guide. I think that report was completed last fall.
October.
So it is a fairly current. There are certainly going to be, there'll be challenges we are not fully aware of, but they were fairly comprehensive in their assessment. And they also indicated that repairing the roof or replacing the roof would be a huge benefit to salvaging the building. So I would recommend that you consider when you purchase that with these grant funds.
Charlie, this is Justin Westcott speaking here, your Director of Plant Operations. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes, Justin.
Yeah. Hey, I just want to make everyone aware that there is no heating and cooling in that building. Is there a plan for that? I know the costs are pretty steep on that type of stuff, electrical and plumbing as well, and asbestos and lead paint.
There is heating in the building. There is not air conditioning, so we would have to address that.
But do you feel we
Right.
could probably accomplish that with some?
As to asbestos and lead paint, we have the same situation there as we would over in the Lake County building across the street there. They have asbestos and lead paint, but the encapsulation that they've done has been sufficient. Also, when I was on the school board, the asbestos and lead paint abatement was done in the past, and it was expensive, but it's a doable situation.
Well, I can tell you, we have a bill from our Alturas plant. One of our employees thought it would be a wise idea to have the propane turned off here over the winter. And that bill for 5 exam rooms and a little bit of the hallway in Alturas, that bill was $70,000 for about 1,500 square feet. A little under that, actually.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, no, some of this stuff's just concerning to me. Some of these numbers that I'm looking at and I'm hearing about are concerning to me, and I'm wondering if grant money is sustainable for this. Can we rely on the grant money to keep this project going?
I guess I would respond in this manner to that question, Justin. There is nothing that is certain. and we know that we can do our due diligence the best we can, and then deal with whatever situations come up. I feel comfortable, like John has stated, that the 200 and some thousand margin that we have would be sufficient for those concerns.
But just the first step.
First step, and that's what we're looking at now.
I understand that, but what has been said prior to this, 19 days cash on hand, it's concerning to me, as an employee of the district, as a manager, and a lot of my colleagues agree with me on this. We had a department head meeting yesterday, and a lot of this was brought up. And it's very concerning within us department heads on what is going on. And above all of the logistics and the construction costs, it's also the location of the building, which is very concerning, being mental health downtown Lakeview.
Where would they rather see it?
Well, I don't know, but I don't think it's the best location. I think we can do better.
Yeah, that's been a consideration, and I'm sure that Heidi could address this maybe from her perspective, but in many regards, this is the ideal location. Just depending upon your view and in particular concerns.
Well, keep in mind mental health. The county behavioral health services was based there many years ago.
Yes.
So, can I speak? This is Blanca.
Yes, Blanca, go ahead.
So, I ditto everything that Justin just said, and thank you, Don, for mentioning the business office. We work really hard to put money in, and I hear the cash on hand, same concerns that Justin just verbalized. We're working hard to bring cash money in, and it concerns me that if this grant money for future years, yes, we have this huge amount at first, but how is it that we can sustain it for future years, knowing that we are not going to possibly not have the means, the support, and we are struggling.
Charlie, would you like to address that?
I think, Blanca, thank you for your comments, and Justin, without a doubt, the mental health service is an important thing, and we anticipate that the state will continue to invest in that service for our community. They're not going to... Sorry, Don.
I'd like to say one thing going forward as well. The costs involved here will certainly, at some percentage, be reimbursable by Medicaid and Medicare as we go forward. So they'll be recoverable, not immediately, but over the long term. And that's what you're looking for, is long-term support.
Thank you, Don.
I guess the way I look at it is all we're trying to accomplish the first year.
I just know it's hard to keep the district at the level that we are, and we're continuing to work hard. That's not going to stop. However, there are expenses that we should worry about in the future that we're not even dealing with facility-wide. So I'm concerned of our future because of the present.
And I think that's where I'm coming from, Blanca, and a lot of our leadership around the hospital. I've got a little list here on some of the projects that have been backlogged for, I'm going into my 10th year here at Lake Health District. our kitchen remodel at $600,000, which was originally quoted in 2015 at $350,000. Myself, the plant operations department has over $1 million of change outs coming within the next 3 to 4 years. We have a pharmacy remodel of $600,000 to $900,000. We're looking at to be compliant with USB 797. Our Alturas clinic, the abatement at $70,000 plus the construction cost of $100 plus $150,000. A roof on our old long-term care, which came in 3 years ago at $350,000, I'm anticipating now at $650,000. Parking lots at $150,000. Acute activity space remodel, which was mandated by the state here a few years ago, that is around $450,000. Our DME and the 220 building needs a new roof at $45,000. I was just made aware of today of a problem over at the roof at the food share building. I'm estimating that to have the whole thing redone at $30,000. And with all due respect, I understand the need for mental health and so on and so forth, but I'm looking at the numbers here, and this is very concerning to me. And sustainability, of grant money is not guaranteed.
Justin, I thought we were closing the Alturas clinic.
What's that?
I thought we were closing the Alturas clinic.
Well, the Alturas clinic was closed, but as it was being closed, an employee of the clinic thought it would be a wise idea to have the propane turned off and not refilled over the winter. And we had a sustainable amount of water damage done because the pipes froze.
Yeah, but be aware that the burn grant won't touch any of that. If we don't use the burn grant for its intended purposes, we'll need to turn that money back to the state. And that won't do any good on any of our capital projects you did mention, Justin, which are serious problems.
Yes, they are. And that's where the concern comes in with me. We spend a considerable amount of time, me and my employees, over at mental health and all of our entities. I would be looking at, if we went forward with the Hereford building, I'd be looking at a minimum of one very competent maintenance personnel and probably, a maintenance 1 level as well. So these are just concerns that I'm voicing. I'm concerned about it. I'm concerned about our financial status as a district. And I think a lot of us are, as managers of the district.
Thank you, Justin. Yeah, I think the concerns that you brought forth are ones that the board has certainly been apprised of and aware of, but we also know that these are separate funds and can't be utilized for the things that you mentioned. So with that, if there's anybody else has any further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
I'll move we go ahead with the purchase of the Harper building.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we purchase the Hereford building and the CEO's recommendation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion carried. Medical, Scott.
I have nothing to report.
You report on how good the cookies are?
They were very
Oh, good. Thanks. Thanks for being here, Scott. We appreciate it. and just about as places that you could be. And Tori is absent, so we will move on from the nursing report. Vicki, do you have anything that you would like to add?
No, just like Charlie said, our second house is open and we continue to take referrals and admit. We have probably 1 to 2 admits a week, so we're on an average, sometimes more.
What's the occupancy right now?
Right, I have 4 today, tomorrow I'll have 5, next week I'll have probably 7, so,
The capacity is,
well.
Good. Thank you.
is staffing looking up? Or is it still challenging?
I was unfortunately one of those departments where I lost almost all of my regular nursing staff due to illnesses. So, like major illnesses that took them out they're gonna have to be out for a long time.
I see we will be having another CNA class beginning in June, and that's good news. Hopefully that'll help fill some of the positions.
Yep.
Sean?
Nothing at this time, a couple of things in the works that I'll be bringing to future meetings.
Thank you. Heidi?
I don't have anything new, I just want to say thank you, and as always, if anyone has any questions about mental health services and what it's going to look like moving forward, I'm more than happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Good. Appreciate your attendance. Charlie, CEO report.
Well, we have a couple of exciting things. We have, when Sheila Gage retired as the, it's also HIM, but it's the Medical Records Director, Health Information Manager. We have finally hired someone. Her name is Donna Boatman, and she will start next Tuesday. So we're very excited about that. It's been difficult to find a replacement, so Sheila has been very gracious to help us with her license and help us with lots of things in the interim, but we have that, we'll move forward. Another very exciting thing, we've talked about the endowment that has been developing over the last several months. We talked about this in the fall, and then at the end of the year, we received some anonymous donations. As of today, those anonymous donations that are being managed by the Oregon Community Foundation are $978,000, just shy of $1 million.
Woo,
That's a significant,
huge increase for us.
huge increase for us. And it just goes to show we have community members that truly are interested in the future of our community. These are funds that will not be available in the near term, but they will work in coordination with the Daily Fund and the Collins McDonald Fund, and focus on providing educational support for employees of the health district or people that want to become employees of the health district. That's a significant amount of money. So that's very exciting.
Great.
We have been having continuous problems with what's now called Oracle Health, even though we call it Cerner. A year ago, Oracle purchased Cerner. Oracle, a very large software company, and they're now changing their name to Oracle Health. As you can imagine, whenever a purchase like that occurs, there's a lot of change in staff, and we continue to see that. So we have elevated our concerns. The person that was our representative to help us is replaced, and we have a new person who fortunately is based out of Portland. And so we'll get maybe a little more attention, but when you have over 50 items that we are waiting for, to have them deal with, that's just ridiculous. An example of the delays, when we put in our request, because with CPSI, we could make some of the changes, but with Cerner, we can't. We put in a request to put in a rate increase last July 1st. Because of the speed that Cerner was working with, the rate increase actually went into effect in August. We have, in anticipation of what the board is going to recommend and approve, we have put in a targeted rate increase as of now, so that they will get it done by July 1st. So, but there are many other problems that we are dealing with. We are, as Don said, working with them on this ORCA and the Experian to help with our revenue cycle team to get better at what they're doing. They need better tools, and that's really a frustrating part. We've been working on physician recruitment, as we always are. We have several nurse practitioners that we are in the process of either coming for a visit or very close. We had one scheduled for potentially next week, but schedules got changed, and so it'll be in June. We are working with a couple of specialists. One is an orthopedic surgeon who has expressed interest. We're getting closer to that. And an internist has expressed a fair amount of interest. So it's hard to find anyone to replace Dr. Graham and his colleagues. No one wants to work quite as hard as they do. So finding anyone like that is a challenge. Do you have any questions that I can address? Otherwise, that concludes my comments.
Well, I'd like to say we're not getting replaced, are we?
Well, yeah, in about 15 years. We're not replacing you immediately.
Help, but not.
Well, well, when we think about this.
CPR, but talk to help. In CPR, you're not gonna talk to anybody. Get it?
No, Ollie.
Hard and fast.
I didn't mean to replace you immediately.
I just thought I didn't know anything. I was like, cool.
If we're not looking to find someone or multiple people to do what you do,
Sure.
it will be a problem for our community.
Anything else, Charlie?
That's what I have. No,
Do we need an executive session?
I don't think so.
Okay. If not, then that is, Don, are you still there? So noted.
Yep, I'm still here.
At 7:31, we are adjourning the meeting to go home.
You dirty dog.
Safe travels to you.
Okay. Thank you.